Yes. Ulitin ko, hello. Good afternoon. The best na. So, thank you, sir. Parang nabigatan ako sa responsibility. Anyway, yes. Thank you, God. Thank you, Heavenly Parents, for today. And now, brothers and sisters, we will proceed to our chapter 4. So, we had discussed last time the chapter, yeah, today's chapter 5. We had discussed the chapter 4, the periods of preparation, and the parallelism, I mean, and the progress of the history from province of restoration and the prolongation of province of restoration. So now let us begin uh, studying chapter 5, the period of preparation for the second advent of the Messiah. So we are talking about here the preparation for the second advent. Nangyayari specifically between 400 years from 1517 to 1980, the period of preparation for the second advent. So, ano yung mga, since we've learned from the previous chapters, part 1 of the principle and part 2 as well, God is preparing also, uh, God prepared everything, received the Messiah, but it's supposed to be in a worldwide foundation, parang tumataas siya na foundation, is to receive the Messiah. Because while Satan is doing the worldwide level, also God will do the level preparation. So, and we will be studying the Protestant Reformation from 1517 to 1648. Then from 1648 to 1789, religious and ideological conflict. Ano yung mga nangyari or mga ideologies na nag-arose that time. And then 1789 to 1918, maturation of politics and economy and ideology. And then the providential significance of the World War II. So I will be discussing about the Protestant Reformation and the religious ideological conflict. 2 sections. So the period of preparation for the second advent of the Messiah was the 400 period from the Protestant Reformation in 1517 to the end of World War in 1918. So the World War lasted from 1914 to 1918. Like it was happened between Europe, Russia, United States, Middle East. So this was the preparation from 1517 to 1918 is like 400 years. And then God is building a foundation in these years. So, but with respect to the providence of restoration, this period is divided into 3 periods. The period of the Reformation, the period of religious and ideological conflicts, and the period of maturation of politics, economy, and ideology. So let's study the period of Reformation, section 1, from 1517 to 1648. The 100-year period of the Reformation began in 1517, when Martin Luther raised the banner of the Protestant Reformation and lasted until the wars of religion were settled by the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. So, when we heard about like Protestant Reformation, we always pupasok talaga sa utak natin about Martin Luther, because he is the one who initiated this Protestant Reformation. So then there was before this Treaty of Westphalia, there was a 30-year wars over religions prior sa 1648. Bago pa nangyari yung treaty, may wars, 30 years wars over religion. It was a war began between Bohemia and the Holy Roman Empire. The war, ang cause ng war is tinatawag nilang defenestration. So, yung defenestration kasi, yun yung pag magkasala yung tao, like then tinatapon nila sa labas ng bintana. Parang big deal sa kanila pag mga ganun. And then that time kasi may sinend yung Roman Empire sa Bohemia. Then ang Bohemian is parang parang nagkasala yung Roman Empire or yung tao na yun. Nag-send sila ng emissaries galing sa Roman Empire. Tapos tinapon nila yung emissaries na yun outside the window. So doon nagalit ang Roman Empire. But this is like ang babaw naman ng reason. Because if we look behind this causes of these wars, religions of war, war of religions, it's because there is also a political conflict behind this. So dahil doon nagkaroon ng away yung Bohemia at saka Holy Roman Empire. Yes, ano pa lang yun, small level of war, ganun. But the group developed, sumali yung Swedish, French. So, kaya yun, nagkaroon din naman ng peace through this, na-end yung 30 years of war through this Treaty of Westphalia, 1648. Ang nangyari dito is, na-divide yung Holy Land, the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire was divided into independent states, and these states will recognize the validity of the religions, like Catholicism, Luteranism, Lutherans, or mga ganun, Calvinism. So in the late Middle Ages, man's original mind was repressed. Its free development blocked by the social environment of feudalism and the secularization and corruption of the Roman Church. Medieval Europeans were prompted by the impulses of their innermost hearts to break down their social environment to open the way for the restoration of their original nature. So during these medieval ages, from 14th century to 4th century to 14th century, or tinatawag, nagkaroon din dito ng Dark Age. So maraming wars ang nangyayari, including yung Holy War, yung crusade between the Christians and Muslims. So nag-flourish din dito yung feudalism. Kaso yung feudalism is ruled by papacy. Kasi this time, Pope or the papacy became powerful than the king. Because mas marami silang sovereignty. And its power, but its power was being misused and being corrupted. Yun lang problema. So also the corruption of the Roman Church. Ano na rin doon that time, parang lumala na yung corruption ng Roman Church. So, kasi this time the church took advantage to the people, used them to gain wealth, more power, and even immorality. And mga dogmas ng church or unnecessary rituals within the church nag-start din dito that time. Kaya parang corrupt talaga yung church dito that time, specifically the Roman Church or Roman Catholic Church. So, after that 14th century, pagdating ng 15th century, dumating Martin Luther started yung Protestant Reformation against the teachings of the Roman Catholic Church. So, hindi siya, parang against talaga siya dito. So, at that time, after 15th century, so nag-boom yung Protestant Reformation. And then, but the purpose of God's providence through the Middle Society was not fulfilled. The direction of the providential history shifted, and God worked to establish a new foundation for the second advent of the Messiah. So, ginamit niya yung Renaissance and Reformation. So, through this, para ma-restore yung original nature. the Cain type movement began as a revival of Hellenism. Ibig sabihin ng Hellenism, yung nakaraang sinabi ko, it is about the culture and philosophy of the ancient Greece and Rome. Tapos, so nag-rise na rin dito yung yung Reformation. Then the Abel type movement began as a revival of the Hebraic heritage of Israel and the early Christian church. It gave rise to the Protestant Reformation, whose core value was faith in God. So after those corruption of the Roman Church, the feudalism, after the Middle Age, 14th century, noong 15th century, yun nga, sinabi ko, nagkaroon ng Renaissance. Time na yun, Renaissance tsaka Reformation. Kaya doon nagsimula si Martin Luther. Then, so, let's study kung ano yung Renaissance tsaka Reformation. Kasi we are preparing, always remember that we are preparing this one for the second advent of the Messiah. So there should be a development about the environment. Kasi if hindi papayag si God na ang church niya is corrupt, so there's a need of change. That is why those people who want change that time, like Martin Luther, John Calvin, and many of them, there is a providential purpose kung bakit ganun yung thinking nila. It's because God works through them. So let's study through the Renaissance. Medieval Europeans' external pursuits of the original nature led to a movement to revive the ancient heritage of Hellenism. So since ang mga Europeans they have this external pursuit of original nature. So through the Hellenism, yung binabalik nila yung culture ng ancient Greeks and yung mga philosophy ng mga ancient Greeks and Romans. So this brought about Renaissance. So as what I've said, that like Renaissance, parang ito yung is the period after, or I might say, the transition period following the medieval age. After the medieval age, transition siya between medieval age and even until our age now, where there is a rebirth of European culture, and also the arts change, the politics change, and the economic change as well. So this was also the recovery of the philosophical, classical philosophy or literature and art na pinag-aralan natin sa high school. If you remember from 14th century to 17th century, na mga nangyayari ang mga classical philosophy this time, or literature. Pag-aralan natin yan. So we are created to attain perfection by fulfilling our given responsibility of our own free will. We are then to attain oneness with God and acquire the true autonomy. Therefore, it is the calling of our original nature to pursue freedom and autonomy. So, since we have this, what we call portion of responsibility na tinatawag, and we have this free will. So, may kakayahan tayo, and we have this pumapasok sa utak natin about yung freedom and autonomy. So this is what the Renaissance was talking about. Na kailangan may freedom yung tao, may kakayahan yung tao, or meron siyang parang kung ano yung desire niya, dapat hindi nakadepende sa iba. Parang gano'n. Kung anong gusto niya, dapat hindi nakadepende sa iba. Kasi that time, yung corruption of the Roman Church is because people will rule by the papacy and other leaders, then they don't have freedom. So through this Renaissance, so nagkaroon ng freedom and autonomy yung tao. And let's study more. So a person of perfect character understands the will of God and puts it into practice through his own insight and reason. Hence, it is only natural that we pursue reasons and understand. So it is only natural to pursue reason and understanding. It's because we have this, as we have learned, that we have this goal in our life to attain perfection. So to attain perfection, we have this also our free will to understand God, and that is based own reason and understanding. Because since we all know also that the human mind also nagde-develop. So nagkakaroon din tayo ng reasoning tsaka understanding. So the Renaissance is like bridging the gap between the Middle Ages and modern civilization. So this time, some of the greatest thinkers, mga authors, statements, yun, nag-boom. Like, sino si Leonardo da Vinci. Yan, yung artist. Si René Descartes, mathematician. Yung, naalala nyo yung first year high school. Yeah. Yeah, algebra. Yeah. Yung nagpapahanap lagi kay X. Kahit wala kang X, pinapahanap sa'yo. Tapos, si Y din. Then, yeah, si René Descartes yung nag-uutos sa atin kung saan si X tsaka si Y. Tayo tuloy ng problema. So, sa pamamagitan ng Cartesian coordinate plane, yung parang ano niya, graph. Basta. Tapos dito din nag-boom, nag-rise or na isinilang yung yung humanist sa Northern Europe, si Desiderius Erasmus, a scholar who defined humanism in Northern Europe. Then Galileo Galilei. So ito din, dito din sa Renaissance period. So an Italian astronomer, or what we call the father of modern science. Dito din si William Shakespeare, Michelangelo, saka marami pang iba. Search na lang yung iba. So we also are endowed with the God-given rights to master the natural world. Hence, we value the natural world, pursue science, and esteem the practical life. So people started to think differently, different from Middle Age. Parang nagkakaroon ng parang yung reasoning nga sinasabi ko, reason and understanding, and nagsisik yung tao ng more satisfaction about what is their life is all about. So that is why yung mga scientists, they discovered even the astronomical things, mga yung solar system, universe, ganun. So makikita natin na ang mind ng tao nagde-develop, tapos yung reason and understanding niya nagde-develop. So that is how God works as well. That kailangan hindi mananatili yung middle age, kailangan ma-stop talaga yun kasi corruption ang nangyayari. So that is why the Renaissance came. And then there's another one, the Reformation. Ito yung sinimula ni Martin Luther. So as the people advocated humanism, they also rebelled against the ritualism and rules of the church, which were constraining their free devotion. They fought against the stratified feudal system and papal authority, which deprived them of autonomy. Yung sinabi ko kanina, the feudal system and papal authority, and yung mga rituals na ginawa ng church. So the Reformation is really against that one. But before Martin Luther, before Martin Luther began the Protestant Reformation, bago sa kanya yung bago nag-boom yung Protestant Reformation, there was this man named John Wycliffe, like 14th century, who started the Reformation. Pero hindi yung Protestant Reformation. Reformation lang siya, na ang tawag sa Protestant is after lang naman kay Martin Luther. So meron ng taong nag-start ng Reformation. Then he is also against the papacy, the priest, yun. Then he said na yung faith dapat hindi nakadepende sa tao, hindi nakadepende sa utos ng tao, kundi nakadepende siya kung ano ang sinulat ng Bible. Sabi niya, yung mga dogmas niyo, mga ceremonies niyo, mga rules ng church niyo, hindi naman nakasulat yan sa Bible. Sabi niya. Then meron ding ibang mga reformation na nag-arose that time before Martin Luther. Like sa Italy, sa Bohemia, then but ang problema is they were being like killed. Yeah, pinatay sila. It's because of course that time they were against by the majority and you will be executed. But during Martin Luther, I think, diba, if you can still remember how Martin Luther received a revelation through the lightning that, and then God talked to him that, yeah, he has like this mission. And then doon nagkaroon ng idea si Martin Luther about this Reformation also. Na he started, nag-start siya mag-aral ng theology, gano'n. Then doon niya na-realize na maraming problema yung Roman Catholic Church. Kaya doon siya nag-start. So doon nag-start ang Protestant Reformation. But it was really parang successful yung nangyayari kay Martin Luther. It's because even until now may mga Lutheran, di ba? Mga Lutheran Church. Ang main practice ni Luther is about the grace of God by believing in Him through Jesus Christ. Yun actually yung generally Christians aside from Roman Catholic, yun yung mga pinaniwalaan ng mga Christians nowadays, right? Aside from Roman Catholic, na yung true, by believing in Jesus Christ, you will be saved, you know. So, yan yung bago pa mangyari yung Protestant Reformation. So, we can see that, so they protested the medieval view that faith required questioning obedience to the dictates of the church in all areas of life, which denied them the right to worship God according to the dictates of conscience, based on their own reading the Bible. Dictates of their conscience, of conscience, based on their own reading of the Bible. So, they protested that they are really against this one. Ganun. And so, but even if the Reformation flourished, or the Protestant Reformation by Martin Luther or John Calvin flourished, so ang problema, along the way, it was blocked by other people. Because may mga ideologies na nag-arose at time. Not just religion, but other ideologies, which is against also, like, yeah, of course, against, but there are ideologies or not belief, but arose another ideas, new ideas about not religions, but ideologies. Okay, let's study this one. So they also questioned the otherworldly and ascetic monastic ideal, which devalued the natural world, science, and practical affairs of life. So yun yung information. So let's study about these ideologies na nag-arose that time. Kasi nag-flourish yung Reformation, sabi ko nga, but there are people who block the religious ideals. There should be another ideologies. And malalaman natin on how communism and democracy, yung root ng democracy at saka yung communism here. So sa section 2 natin nalalaman the period of, so na-realize natin sa section 1 about Renaissance and Reformation. So the development of people's mind, ideas, mga ganun, which is attaining the individual perfection or the ideals of life. And here, section 2, the period of religious and ideological conflict. So since kasi yung Reformation kasi is may mga hadlang, tingnan natin here. Ano yung mga ideologies na yun? So the period of religious and ideological conflict between 1648 to 1789 centuries. This refers to the 140 years beginning with the secure establishment of Protestantism. So there is a secure establishment of Protestantism this time at the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. Kasi nga, after ng Treaty of Westphalia, na-divide yung Roman Empire. Na-divide siya ng different states. Tapos yung every states na yun, may mga like may na mga leaders or prince, sabihin natin, prince or kings. Then every states pwede silang mamili ng religion. Kasi legalize sa kanila yung pwede na sa kanila yung pero tatlong religion lang, Catholicism, Protestantism, saka Calvinism. Yun. So this time naging secure yung Protestantism ni Martin Luther. So, and ending with the French Revolution. So there is also another revolution. This is the French Revolution. Ito yung period where the French citizens redesigned their country's politics. Mga political landscape, like yung revolution at is paalisin nila yung mga absolute monarchy, yung mga monarchy or feudal system na tinatawag. So yun yung French Revolution nag-started this time. So as modern people continue to pursue the internal and external desires of their original nature, they could not avoid divisions in theology and disputes among philosophies arising from freedom of faith and thought. So since yung tao nagdi-desire ng internal at external, so it means parang magkakaroon din ng division ng theology at yung philosophies. So since from the beginning, but if we always recall the fall of man, or the nature of man nowadays, that we have these two minds, original mind and evil mind, then always doing different things. So the same here, that the rise of the Reformation and the Renaissance, or the evil type and clean type view of life, like arose din. So so there is always like the Cain type and evil type views of life developed in this period. So there is always this kind of division, because God has worked His providence throughout history repeatedly, because He want to change, He want to separate good and evil, or the Cain type and evil type people, from individual until world. Even world level, God will still divide the Cain type and the evil type. So, kasi, yun nga, God cannot dwell in that area if there is always an evil world, ganun. The Messiah cannot come actually if the world is very sinful. So God always separates, kinukuha niya yung mga buting tao from that sinful world. So let us study this Cain type and evil type views of life from this religious and ideological conflict. So Renaissance humanism elevated human beings and the natural world over God. The Renaissance established a new perspective of life, which sought to understand the universe through reason and experience, logic and experiment. So, and this time, nag-arose yung rationalism. Kung napag-aral natin sa college French philosopher, like, for example, René Descartes, he's not only a mathematician, but he's also a philosopher. Sinasabi niyang, I think, therefore I am. Then, yung empiricist na sa rationalism, like, it explains that you will have the reason about life, yung mga reasoning na sabi natin, lagi tayong nag-reason. Para maintindihan daw yung life. And there is this, yung understand through experience or empiricism. It was by Francis Bacon, the English philosopher. So, and then the Renaissance gave birth to a view of life which encouraged people to follow only external pursuit. blocking their path to God and leading them toward Satan's realm. For this reason, it is called the Cain type view of life. The problem is, yun nga, since nakapokus sa rationalism at empiricism, the problem is, people focus on thinking, always using their minds. Because they are reasoning about like this, like that, why like this. But focus on external things, reasoning, but based on external. Nangyayari, this separates between God and human beings. Kaya nga sabi ko, pag too much mind is not good. Kasi if your self is not balanced between mind and heart, the problem is, if you're too much in mind, it comes to the point you not believe in the spirit of, to be exact, ganun. Parang ganun ang mangyayari. So, kaya nga sabi ko, nung nag-aaral ako ng DP, ito nag-aaral ko, masakit yung ulo ko basta pag laging utak is like, saka, basta dumating sa point actually na I don't believe in God. And then, hindi ko alam nangyayari doon. Sabi, kasi too much like, dumating na ako sa universe, thinking about universe, mga ganun. Bakit si True Father hindi pa naka-explain ng ganun? Mga ganun ba? So, it came to, parang ayaw ko na maniwala. Parang ganun. But actually, so napapalayo, parang kinakabahan ako kasi parang nawala na yung heart ko dun kay God ba. So, that's one of the example. It's not good to always use our reasoning and, yeah. So people will like characterize God based on reason or internal world. So ito yung dahilan kung bakit nagkaroon na communism. The Cain type view of life grew through the Enlightenment, so nagkaroon ng Enlightenment, and matured into Marxism, which became the cornerstone of the communist world today. So because of this too much mind, yung ideology ni Karl Marx, dito nagsimula. So, but how about yung able type? So basically the democratic. So let's see. The able type view of life. So the Reformation spawned philosophies and religious teachings which developed a multi-dimensional view of life, seeking to realize God-given and original nature of human beings. This view of life guided modern people to seek God in a deeper and more thoughtful way. We call this the able type view of life. So, in the sphere of like, sinabi natin kanina, di ba, religious tsaka ideological. Sa ideological or sa like sphere of philosophy, may nag-arose this time about the evil view of life, and natawag natin si Immanuel Kant. Mga famous na mga philosopher ba? Di ba mayroon intro to philo? Second year, first year, second year. Education ako eh. Hindi ako philosopher. May mga important, may mga ano pala yun, philosopher na yun. Immanuel Kant, yan yung pioneer ng ano. Kinikriticize kasi niya yung ano, yung theories between rationalism at empiricism. Parang hindi daw enough, sabi niya. It's not enough to understand the real way of life. Ganun. So, he argues that human understanding is the source of the general laws of nature that structure all our experience then, and that human reasoning gives itself the moral law. So which is our basis in our belief to God, freedom and immorality. So, well, not just reasoning, but also if you have the reasoning and empiricism, then you should it's like combining these two and then understanding about you can understand more deeply about God. Parang ganyan ang sinasabi niya. Tapos sa religion naman, sa religious sphere, yung Philip Spener lead the movement of Pietism about piety. Then siya yung like mga mystical experience, mga ganun. Then yung Wesley Brothers, yung founder ng Methodist Church. May mga ano sila providential rule actually. It is for the able type view of life na mag-arose. And yes, yung mga Wesley Brothers, John Wesley, then Charles Wesley, George Fox sa Quakers, tsaka si Emanuel Swedenborg, yung Swedish theologian, as well as scientist din. Then naka-discover siya ng mga secrets of the spirit world. Then may book siya like about afterlife, about heaven and hell. Scientist siya pero may ganun siyang mga experience. And dun yung nakasulat. So like in this this view, in diverse ways of able type view of life matured to form the democracy world today. So this is the reason kung sa able type view of life from this people, democracy started to arise. Ito yung root ideology ng democracy. So makikita natin that dalawa yung Keynes type view of life and like the democracy and communism. Now because of this Renaissance, so because of this period after Martin Luther King, supposed to be maganda na sana, but there's other ideologies na nag-arose. And still, there is still problem. Yung sinasabi natin, may problema pa rin siya because of the communism. And we can tackle more about the maturation of the economic politicals in the next section. Kasi we are still in the 17th century. 17th century pa rin tayo ngayon. Kasi, I mean, yung tinakil ko, 17th century lang. May discuss later yung ano. So it's like, so it is the preparation of the second coming. So it is the middle of 1517 until 1918. So the following centuries will be discussed in the next lecture. Section 3, the maturation of politics and economy and ideology. That would be all. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, 감사합니다, Herwin. So do you have any reaction? I hope wala muna, so that we can proceed to the next. Aju? So, si Ate Relina ba next? Si Ate Relina?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is just a brief discussion of the first 130 years. Okay, and like what we said, we cannot discuss everything today, but at least we have given you the hint, so it's your responsibility to further study it. Tama ba, Aju?
Hindi na matapos all day.
Mahirap naman kung lahat na lang ibibigay namin sa inyo. Okay, we have to always remember that everything that we do, we have a portion of responsibility, right? And kung magtulungan tayo to find all those part of the puzzle, that's the time that we can complete. Pero kung lagi na lang tayong magbangayan na etong tama, etong mali, we cannot complete the puzzle. Tama ba, brothers and sisters? Kaya nga lagi sinasabi ni Mother, lagi sinasabi ni Father sa atin is, we should work together in perfect harmony, just like unto the mind and body to the internal and external of God. Okay? Harmonious, reciprocal relationship with each other. Aju? So we are now unlocking the history, and unlocking history is multiple brains who will look at different dimension. We can unlock it better. Kaya nga kung titingnan natin, ano ba yung truth na binigay sa atin ni Father? It's just the hint. Kaya sabi niya, divine principle is the backbone. Speeches of true father is the flesh, but the action nasaan? Nasaan yung action, brothers and sisters? It is in our heart. Tama ba? It is in our heart how much we love God, how much we love true parents. That's the time that we will act on it. Tama ba? Does it make sense? Aju?
Aju.
Kaya minsan, naano ko pag sinasabi na dapat yung isang lecturer alam niya lahat. We just know a little bit. Okay? Ang hint din lang na binigay sa atin ni Father actually is yung clearer understanding of what should happen in the past so that we can correct it at the present. Does it make sense? Brothers and sisters? Yeah. Kaya once we will do our portion of responsibility together, work together collaboratively, harmoniously, as a individual or as a family who wanted to resolve the agony of our parents, how beautiful it is. Aju? Kaya kung titignan natin, di ba? Ano bang kinakailangan? It is the harmony of all the supplemental to make human being become better. Iba't ibang system, they should harmoniously, reciprocally work together. And this is us. Aju? And to further give us a further preparation of how the next 130 years being set. Okay, let's welcome our next lecturer. Okay. Actually, we are raising her to become the Blessed Family Special Educate Lecturer. Okay. Now, sooner or later, she will assist members who wanted to really establish a solid blessing for God and for true parents. Kasi kung titingnan natin, di ba? Once you match, you will be matched. Is it, yan na ba yung end ng lahat? Hindi pa rin, right? There's still many things to discover. And that is, the only thing that we can do in Blessed BFD is to guide you and to help you. How to make your blessing really become a blessing. Okay, true parents gave us the blessing, but how to make it a blessing is sino? It is between you and us. Between your couple plus the guidance that we can provide. But our guidance is not yet that 100%. Kaya nga, we needed more people who wanted to make the blessing really a blessing for all brothers and sisters. Kasi ang gusto ni Father is lahat tayo, okay, maging true honor ng blessing. Okay? So let's welcome no other than our very own, okay, Ate Relina Dolendo. Take it away, Ate Relina. It's your time to shine.
Hello, naririnig na ako? Hello?
Yes po.
Yes po.
Loud and
Pasensya
clear.
na ka. Kasi itong ano namin, Hindi kasi stable yung kabila ko eh. Nakadata ako sa kabila. Ito naman wala siyang palang ano. Itong stable, yung naka-local namin. Ito yung stable na kaya dito ako magpe-present. Kaya dalawa yung tinitignan ko, nalilito tuloy ako. Sorry po. Kasi kung yung data hindi yun stable eh. Yung itong sa akin na may ano, may audio at saka may video. Hindi kasi siya stable eh kasi naka-data lang yan. Kaya ginagamit ko tong stable na ano, connection. Pasensya na. Before we start sa ano, section 3, the period of maturation in politics, economy, and ideology, gusto ko munang magbigay ng konting intro from about, tag dito, about, para masundan ko, para ano, about tag dito, about studying world history centering on God's providence. So, ang dapat natin tatandaan palagi, sa in studying yung providence ni God, kasi starting dun sa chapter 1 natin, sa part 2, halos world history na siya, di ba? And yung last natin is parallelism pa ng of history, di ba? Na yun na nag-end dun sa last meeting natin, is that nag-end dun sa yung parallelism of history that ends with the preparation of the 400 years preparation of the coming of the second coming of the Messiah, which is yung pinag-aaralan natin ngayon sa chapter 5. Pero habang inaaral natin, as we learn or as we study history, world history, merong ano, in centering on God's providence or relative to God's providence of restoration, we should always go back to the basic. Ano ba yung gusto ni God, di ba? Kailangan kasi yung sa chapter 1 natin, sa principle of creation, we need to fulfill the three, di ba? The three great blessings, di ba? The three great blessings. Yun yung perfection of individual, tapos yung family, and then perfection of dominion, di ba? Sa application natin, sa panahon natin, and in world history, tatlo rin yung ginagawa natin. Yun yung tinatry natin na i-fulfill. So, nung nag-aaral na tayo ng world history based on sa world history part 2, God will also work on religion. Tatlo yung development na dapat mangyari. Yung religion, political, saka economics. First is yung religion, di ba? Yung religion is yun yung pag pinag-uusapan natin yung religion, it's about yung ano natin, perfection ng relationship natin with God. Individual, each person living on this earth, yun yung tinatry natin. Yung first blessing is our individual connection to God. So, di ba? Yun yung purpose ng ano natin. We develop, kahit sa history, nagdi-develop din yung religion together with politics and economy. So yun yung religion is yung perfection natin, yung perfection ng connection natin kay God. Kasi we were not able to fulfill that as human beings because of the because of the fall of Adam and Eve, our ancestors, di ba? The first human ancestors. Ano naman yung political dito? Yung itong religion, political, saka economic, sabay-sabay siyang magdi-develop. Yung ano yung political doon? What part of the yung political part kasi doon is the cooperation, 'di ba yun yung tawag dito? Parang yung ang analogy niya is yung perfect or harmonious relationship of husband and wife or yung family perfection wherein yung ang politics kasi doon is that kung the husband and wife discusses kung ano yung makakabuti sa kanilang sa family nila, and then it would expand to the family and to the clan and then to the tribe and then to the nation, di ba? Ganun siya. So, yun yung politics doon. The husband and starting with in the family in the couple, mag 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 mag-uusap sila and they would cooperate and then they would try to influence each other, which is the best way to develop as family, di ba? Centering on heavily on the centering on the nature of heavenly parent, di ba? Ganun siya. So yun yung politics doon within our kaya kailangan, 'di ba kung napapansin nyo sa politics kasi we are trying to politics is trying yung sa external natin na nakikita is trying to influence the other party or the other para sumunod sa kanya. Ganon din naman yung nangyayari sa husband and wife, di ba? They cooperate each other. So, ganon siya magde-develop. And ano yung economic doon? Economic. So, ano naman yung economic? Ito yung economics is third blessing. It's the dominion of the creation, di ba? Paano natin magagamit lahat ng resources natin in order for us to live happily and comfortably na equally among the members, di ba? Kung sa party ng starting with the family, sa husband and wife, pinag-usapan nila kung paano sino magtatrabaho, paano gagawin dito. Hindi naman na kasi necessary in the ideal of God, hindi naman kasi necessary na yung lalaki lang magtatrabaho para, 'di ba? Lalaki lang, yung husband lang yung magtatrabaho dahil siya yung provider, ganun. Kasi macho yun parang ganun. Hindi kasi ganun yun Sa ideal of God, sino yung mas, kung sa ideal of God, sino ba yung mas makakapag-provide sa family for betterment of the family, di ba? Kasi naalala ko to when I was after nung nung na-receive ko yung watch ko nung pang-anim ko na yung last and final, and that was the one na ito sa asawa ko, sabi ko noon, may isang member, tinanong ko siya. Sinasabi niya kasi na ako daw ang pumunta ng Iligan kasi nga, basta kasi may trabaho daw siya, parang ganyan. Para makapag-usap kami, kung acceptance pa lang naman siya, parang ganun. Tapos sabi ko noon, bakit ako pupunta ng Iligan? Di ba? Ako ang babae, di ba? Siya ang lalaki. Dapat pumunta siya dito sa Manila, di ba? Parang ganon. And then here comes an elder, sabi ni ate, sabi nung ate na yon, case-to-case basis yan, Rel, sabi niya ganon. Kung ikaw yung pwedeng pumunta, di ikaw ang pumunta, hindi ibig sabihin na wala namang kinalaman yung gender doon. And then, of course, and then I realized, tama naman siya. Bakit ba may kilala? Pag brother, dapat ba siya pumunta? Kasi nga siya yung brother. Parang ganun ang una ko sinabi. Kasi nga medyo syempre kahit pa paano, hindi pa tayo yun yung palaging parang yung may roles kasi between di ba? Palagi natin kasi influence pa rin yan. Ganun tayo kasi lumaki. Ganun yung secular world na kinalikhahan natin, yung usual na practice kasi. So nung nasabi niya sa akin, o sige na, pupunta na nga ako ako na nga lang pupunta ng Iligan. So in short, I was able to go there ako yung nagpunta, hindi ko pinagpilitan yung sabi ko na may role, yung roles, yung usual roles kasi natin na siya yung lalaki, dapat siya pumunta, di ba? Parang gano'n. So, so ako, I was the one who go to Iligan. Hindi ko pinagpilitan na siya pumunta dito sa Manila. So, yun yun. So, sa husband and wife, kasi sinasabi ko dito, sa husband and wife, dapat you should not take, especially kung, ganun, sa practical, sa family kasi, when you start your family later, you should not feel, women or sisters uh, should not feel na mas sila sa husband nila, parang ganon. Should not feel na mas equip sila or mas subject dapat sila sa husband nila dahil sila yung kumikita. Hindi kasi ganun yun, parang ganon. So gusto ko lang i-emphasize yun pagdating sa economics. Pero yun, itong religion, politics, and economics, sabay-sabay siyang mag-grow. Pag mapapansin nyo dun sa mga sa lectures natin, starting sabay-sabay yung religion, politics, saka economy na magdi-develop, mag-grow. Magdi-develop din siya. Pero katulad nung iba, ang palagi natin titignan is that palaging may able side at may Cain side. 'Di ba? Hiwalay sila. Parang ganon. Palagi silang hiwalay. So, dapat malaman nyo kung paano sila naghihiwalay. Bakit siya Cain type? Bakit siya able side? So, yun. Yung religion, mayroon siyang able side. Tapos yung politics, may able side siya. Yung religion, di ba, mayroon siyang yun yung katulad ng diniscuss ni Sir kanina sa section 1 and 2, sa section 2 yata to. Sa religion meron Hellenistic at saka Hebraic Hebraic development, 'di ba? Yung Hellenistic kasi ang sinasabi lang dito, ang yung Hellenistic point of view kasi, which is Cain type, 'di ba? Cain type religion na develop is that ano ba yung pagdating sa providence ni God, siya, yung Hellenistic culture kasi, siya, polytheistic. Ibig sabihin, ito yung Greek culture wherein naniniwala sila sa maraming Diyos. Alam niyo yung Greek mythology natin, di ba? Mayroong si Venus, si Zeus, yun. Kaya siya naging Cain side, Cain type siya, kaya siya naging Cain type kasi nga, tawag dito, kasi naniniwala sila sa maraming Diyos, di ba? Marami silang God and goddesses. At itong mga God and goddesses, pag naalala niyo yung ating Greek mythology, di ba? Nag-aaway sila and most of them parang mayroon pang self-centered, may corrupt tong mga tong mga gods na to, di ba? Kasi nag-aaway sila, nagseselosan sila, nagpapatayan sila. Which is, this what makes it Cain type. Whereas yung Hebraic na paniniwala, which is ito yung able type, ito kasi yung monotheistic, ito yung naniniwala sila yung naniniwala sa one God, sa nag-iisang God, at saka naniniwala sa humanity na nakasentro kay God. Yun yung maganda rin yung Hellenistic, ang pinagkaiba lang kasi nila sa kanya is that kasi in-awaken niya it awakens yung humanity. Pero mas kasi siya, mas ang naka-priority sa kanya yung external side o kaya siya Cain, 'di ba? External lagi yung tinitignan niya. Whereas sa nakasentro siya kay God, yung Hebraic. Yun. Sa political naman, and then yun, pag-uusapan natin yung politics and economy sa section 3. So sa section 3, ano ba to? Sa chapter 5 kasi is about yung 400 years preparation for the coming of the second advent. Okay. And ito na yun. This period, so section 3 na tayo, period of maturation of politics, economy, and ideology, which is 1789 to 1918. The period refers to the 130 years between the French Revolution in 1989 to the end of World War I in 1918. So, last 130 years na ng 400 years preparation of the coming of the second Advent. Cain type and Abel type views of life matured taking their separate paths. So, totally naghiwalay na talaga sila. Nag-mature sila. As they matured, they founded two different forms of society with distinct social structure. The Cain type society and Abel type society. Ano tong mga to? Okay. In this way, those espousing the Cain type view of life championed the Enlightenment and gave rise to the French Revolution, thus establishing Cain type democracy. This would later be systematized into Marxism in Germany and Leninism in Russia, eventually forming the communist world. Di ba alam naman natin na dun sa previous study natin, lalo na dun sa parallelism, yung isa ba nating dapat maintindihan kasi, dapat, di ba, yung isang in-emphasize nun dun sa chapter 4 is that kung si Jesus Christ was accepted by the Jews, dapat nagkaroon ng si Jesus Christ ay naging ang capital dapat ng mundo is yung Jerusalem, di ba? And then from Jerusalem, dahil yung Jerusalem kasi, di ba, it is being the Jerusalem, parang kung matatandaan nyo during the trial of Jesus Christ ni Pontius Pilate. Si Pontius Pilate ay governor, is standing as a governor to Israel or to Jerusalem, di ba? Ang center ng Israel is Jerusalem, di ba? Parang ang capital ng Israel is Jerusalem. So, hindi nila, just like dito sa Philippines, di ba, ang pinagmamalaki ng mga Islam, lalo na yung mga taga Mindanao, yung Spanish, hindi nila kailanman na dominate ang Mindanao sa tatlong malalaking island ng Pilipinas. Hindi nila na dominate ang Mindanao because of the Muslims, hindi nila na-dominate. Ganun din sa 'di ba? Masyadong during the Roman Empire, masyadong strong ang Roman Empire, pero hindi nila na-conquer totally yung Israel. Kasi nga hindi nila na-conquer yung Israel, kaya ang ginawa nila na lang nila para magkaroon sila ng in some way or another, yung hindi talaga nila makontrol yung Israel. So ang ginawa nila, naging ang Israel ay naging province nila. Kaya ang position ni Pontius Pilate is governor. Governor siya dun sa na governor siya from Rome, di ba? Na siya ang governor dun sa Israel. Pero kung tutuusin, gumagana yung Israel through Jerusalem ng sarili niya. Gumagana yung government niya ng sarili niya. Para lang siyang, kung nanonood kayo ng mga Korean novela, yung katulad ng Empress Ki, pag natatandaan niyo, di ba sinasabi nila, palaging kailangan pag may bagong king, kailangan merong tawag dito, dapat pumapayag yung si China, di ba? Yung Yuan. Kasi ang tawag sa China noon sa panahon na yon is Yuan, di ba? So pag nagkaroon ng bagong king sa Goryeo, sa Korea, kailangan pumapayag or merong abiso na pumapayag sila na maging king yan. So kailangan naglalaro ang politics doon sa may politics doon sa kailangan pumayag pumayag yung Yuan, yung China, dun sa king nila. Ibig sabihin, dapat pinapanigan or inaayunan yung bagong king or else magkakaroon ng war, di ba? Ganun yun. Ganun yung nangyayari. Naintindihan nyo ba ako yung sinasabi ko? Brothers and sisters. Yun. So, walang sumasagot, wala akong naririnig.
Hindi ko pa po napapanood yung Korean.
Parang, kasi yun nga, yung basta, ang Korean Empire, ang Chinese Empire, ewan ko, dynasty yung tawag nila sa kanya eh. May mga siya, 'di ba? May mga bansa kasi silang na nasasakupan. And then kasi yun din yung yun din yung concept ng feudalism, 'di ba? Kaya they are paying tribute. Pag sinabi lang they were paying tributes, nagbibigay sila ng mga resources nila in terms of tao, in gold, ganon. Nagbibigay sila ng slaves, 'di ba? Pinapadala nila occasionally or talagang meron silang, let's say every year nagpapadala sila ng 2,000 slaves at tapos meron silang mga gold na pinadadala dun sa mga bansang nasasakupan nila. Parang ganon. Kasi ganon yung sinasabi nilang, tawag nila dun tributes eh. So, tributes to the empire. Kasi ang tawag nila, pag meron ko nasasakupan na mga kingdom, empire na tawag sa'yo, parang gano'n. So, yun. So, ganun din yung concept ng feudalism. Nasa lang siya, dun sa pag nasa empire, yung scope niya. Yun. Kaya kaya yun yung mga tawag dito. Kaya nasaan na ako? Give rise to French Revolution, establishing Kintab democracy. Hindi kasi dahil hindi nila inaccept si Jesus Christ, instead na dahil meron silang ganung yung Israel, meron silang ganung power, kung naging inaccept nila si Jesus Christ as the Messiah, so nagkaroon dapat siya ng si Jesus Christ at saka yung mga tao, centering na nagkaroon ng triumvirate si Jesus, meron nagkaroon ng Trinity, 'di ba? Si God, bago ka magkaroon ng Trinity kasi, you need God, si God, tapos meron kang subject, meron kang object. So Jesus Christ is standing on the subject, and the people who accepted him standing on the, as object. Pag nagkaroon sila ng ng harmonious pagkakaisa, okay, ng harmonious relationship. So ang mangyayari, madodominate ngayon nila yung si Roman Empire sa centering dun sa leadership ni Jesus Christ. Nang sa ganon, mag-expand ngayon yung kay Jesus Christ. The reason why na hindi makagalaw yun kasi walang ang naging problema, walang object si Jesus Christ, di ba? Kaya hindi rin makagalaw si God. Paano makakagalaw si God kung walang pangatlo, 'di ba? Kaya nga sinasabi natin sa previous lecture natin, number 3 is the number of heaven, 'di ba? The number of heaven kasi kailangan mo si God, yung subject at saka yung object. Nang sa ganun magiging powerful 'to. Walang ganun na nangyari. Kaya naging failure siya, 'di ba? Kaya kaya Jesus Christ need to go the way of the cross. So ganun din kapag tawag dito, kapag yung Roman Empire nakipag-harmonious relationship siya, nakipag-cooperate siya, accepted Jesus Christ, tapos centering on God, so pwede nang mag-expand yung world, yung kingdom of heaven sa world level. Kasi nga at that time, 'di ba, yung Roman Empire yung center ng world sa panahon ni Jesus Christ para magkaroon ng kingdom of heaven on earth siya dapat. Pero hindi nga ganoon ang nangyari. Ang nangyari is that nag-fail kasi yung mismong taong ay mga chosen people that is being tawag dito, that is being prepared to receive the Messiah. Kaya ang nangyari, nawala yung so nagkaroon ng nag-failure yung Jerusalem, nag-failure din yung sa Roman Empire. So ang kailangan nangyari, pumunta sila, na-divide ngayon yung according to Sir Herwin, na-divide ngayon yung Roman Empire into East and West. Tapos sa west side, yun yung naging who maintain yung tawag dito, sila yung sa West Roman, yun yung nag-maintain nung ideals ni Heavenly Father in terms sa restoration ideals. Kaya nga yung sa ang tumanggap doon yung mga German, di ba? Kasi nasa part ng western part ng Roman Empire, tama ba? Yung sa Germany. Pero kung mapapansin nyo din, it would later be systematized into yung sa Cain type into Germany and Leninism and Russia, eventually forming the communist world. Yung Cain type democracy, di ba palagi kasing sinasabi, palaging inuunahan ni Satan yung God's providence at ginagaya niya kung paano yung parang ginagaya niya pero yung distorted democracy. Kaya ang ginagawa ni Satan, 'di ba? Kung saan ang nag-accept at naging is Germany. Kaya ganun din ang ginawa din ni Satan. Hindi papayagan ni Satan na God's side lang dito sa Germany. Din siya, nakipag-cooperate din siya sa mga tao na pwede siyang, kaya nagkaroon din ng Marxism na nag-start din sa yung Marxism is nag-start din sa Germany. And then later on sa sa Russia, which is nasa ano din yun sa Russia na Leninism. Pero nag-start sa Germany and then Russia. Kumbaga, hindi talagang kung saan nag-i-start si God, pupunta rin dun si Satan. Parang i-challenge ka pa rin ni Satan para hindi ibablock palagi ni Satan. Yun yung sinasabi lang dito. Since Christian Puritans, ito naman sa Abel type democracy. Dahil yung mga from sa western side, tama ba? Roman na western side, nagkaroon na ang naging sincere yung Christian Puritans. The fruits of Abel type view of life founded Abel type democracies through their victorious fight with absolutism to religious freedom. Yung absolutism kasi ito, yung absolutism towards towards dun sa humanity na parang hindi mo na iniisip si God. Puro human powers na lang o yung human ability lang ang tinitignan mo. Yun yung sinasabi niya. Many Puritans immigrated to the American continent to obtain religious freedom. They founded independent nation in 1776 and established American democracy. Abel type democracy was developed from this beginning into the democratic world of today. So kung makikita nyo, 'di ba, sabi natin kanina, nag-separate sila sa kanyang development. Yung isa, yung Abel type, ay yung Cain type democracy dun sa Germany to Russia. So, yun yung alam naman natin in history, before yung fall ng communism, in the 80s, tama ba? Tama. 80s ba o 90s? So, Russia yung leading na country sa communism. And then ang naging able type democracy is yung sa Amerika, yung sa US. The significance of separation of powers. Ito naman yung pinag-uusapan na natin dito, yung sa politics. The development of politics. The concept of separation of powers in 3 branches of government was advocated by Montesquieu. It sought to prevent the concentration of political power in the hands of single individual or institution. The idea was proclaimed in the Declaration of Rights of Man during the French Revolution. Alam niyo yung Montesquieu, Charles Montesquieu ang pangalan niya. Ano siya, siya yung, dito nag-umpisa yung merong 3 dapat na siya yung, meron dapat, sa democracy, dapat merong 3 branches na separate, legislative, judicial, saka executive branches. From the beginning of the separation of powers was the characteristic of political structure of God's ideal society. Kasi 'di ba napansin natin from clan society to yung sa tribe, yung development ng tawag dito, development ng politics kasi 'di ba? Saan na ba tayo? Development ng politics kasi from clan to tribe to tribe. Then to nation, then to yung mga kingdom. Yung ganun siya. So So nag-umpisa 'yun sa nagkakaroon tayo ng problema kung 'di ba sa period of the judges, yung pagdating ng sa period of the judges nagiging corrupt kasi kung isang tao lang ang nagma-manage sa lahat, sa legislative, judicial at saka executive. Pag naging corrupt siya, so magbo-breakdown lahat. So kailangan kailangan tatlo yung magse-separate yung legislative, judicial nang sa ganon, ang kailangan niyang gawin lang is mag-harmonize, may cooperative siya, centering on tawag dito, on the Christ na wherein si God din ay siya yung naka-centered kay Christ. Ganun siya. From the beginning, the separation of power was to be the characteristic of the political structure of God's ideal society. Yet here again, Satan was mimicking an aspect of the principle ahead of its realization. Talagang palaging ganun talaga yung trabaho ni Satan, is to block and gagayahin niya at uh, i-distort niya, mag-establish siya ng distorted society na parang katulad kay God. Hence, the three branches of government of legislative, judicial, and executive branches should interact in harmonious and principled relationship by following God's guidance as conveyed through the Christ. Ganun siya dapat magkakaroon siya ng harmonious, principled relationship. Ganun siya dapat na nakasenter kay God, which is sa Christ, sa Messiah, and then alam naman din natin na nakasentro yung Messiah kay God. Today's democracies, ano ba nangyari sa democracy natin, is characterized by the three separate branches of government and a proliferation of political parties resemble the structure of a healthy human body to that extent. So, yun dapat. Since the political parties are ignorant of the will of God, however, they may be compared to a nervous system which is unable to transmit direction from the brain. So yung mga political parties, hindi ignorant kasi sila kay God. Yun yung mga nangyayari sa democracy natin ngayon. So, yung nervous system, which is the brain, di ba? Hindi siya nakakapag-transmit ng tama sa lungs, sa heart, at saka sa stomach, which, ano ba yung tawag dito, corresponding ng lungs, heart, and stomach. Pagkita natin sa next slide. Since constitutions are not written in accordance with the word of God, the three branches of government currently functioning like internal organs which cannot sense or respond to the commands of the brain because the peripheral nerves are severed. Ibig sabihin na nakahiwalay or yung connection ay broken. They lack order and harmony and suffer continual conflicts among themselves. Ganun yung nangyayari. Therefore, the Christ of the Second Advent, ito yung mission ng Christ of the Second Advent, will remedy the illness of the present political system that it may reflect God's design by restoring people's vertical relationship with God. This will unleash society's true potential. Ito yung isang mission ng Lord of the Second Advent. Yung political system, since na-establish na yung parang di ba, tama naman na yung na-establish natin, yung political party na magkakahiwalay, ito naman talaga Kaso dinistort ni Satan, di ba? Ahead of God. Therefore, Christ at the second, tapos yun yung gagawin niya. So, the significance of Industrial Revolution. The economic structure of the ideal society also resembles the structure of a healthy human body, wherein yung production, distribution, and consumption should have an organic, interdependent relationship such as that which exists between the digestive, circulatory, and metabolic system. Kaya nga sabi natin kanina, sabi ko kanina, may lung, may heart, at saka may metabolic system na nakasentro lahat yon. So ito yung distribution, yung production, distribution, and consumption. There should be adequate production of necessary and useful goods, fair distribution to supply what is sufficient of people's need, and reasonable consumption in harmony with the purpose of the whole. So, ganun siya dapat. The mass production born of industrial revolution led England to claim vast colonies as sources of raw materials and markets for goods. So ang problema, ito na yung naging problema na naman dahil naungunan naman si Satan, ang nangyayari, nag-expand yung mga strong nation and magki-claim sila ng vast colonies at saka kinukuha nila yung resources nila just like ano, 'di ba? Just like dito ang example is England. Sa Philippines, alam naman natin na yung sa Spain ganun ang ginagawa niya, 'di ba? Yung mga resources natin dito sa Pilipinas is kinukuha nila. Yung ating mga spices, yung mga gold natin, yun kinukuha nung nag-colonize sa atin. Ganun din yung kaya sila nagki-claim para dapat sa lahat, pero kiniklaim nung yung colonizing nation. So in doing so, the Industrial Revolution opened up a vast territory for propagation. Ang nakaganda lang yung nag-propagate yung gospel through England, kasi yung England sila doon tawag dito, ito yung maganda lang na nagawa doon sa tawag din yung religious tawag development, na which is ang sentro is yung 'di ba sa England, sa Rome, doon. Accordingly, it contributed both to internal and external aspect of the providence of restoration. The rise of great power. Following the Industrial Revolution, spurred by the rapid progress of science, industrialization created economies characterized by overproduction. The great powers of Europe grew strong as they competed with each other in the scramble of colonies. Di ba kaya nga, may mga treaty, di ba? Kasi, hindi mo na pwedeng galawin tong country nito dahil akin na to. Sige, magkakaroon na naman ng another treaty para hindi mo pwedeng galawin to dahil akin na to. Parang ganon. So, magkakaroon ng war, di ba? Magkakaroon ng war, mag-war sila against each other, and then they will mag-end yung war through a treaty. Kaya, yun, the Cain and Abel trends in ideology and economic development caused the latter political division of world into democracy and communism. So ganun yung yung feudalism, kailangan kong siguro hindi dun sa tawag dito sa chapter 4 hindi na naipaliwanag ng mabuti yon. Ang feudalism is nangyari dun sa 'di ba, from kung kailangan kasi ang feudalism is pertaining to economics, may related siya sa economics. Kasi 'di ba nung after na makuha ma-separate ni or ma-rescue ni Moises yung mga Israelites from Egypt, 'di ba? Tapos nakapasok sila sa Canaan, yung lupa ng Canaan hinati sa 12 tribes of the Israel, 'di ba? And then nagkaroon siya ng Hinati-hati nila, tapos ang feudalism kasi nakasentro yung resources ng land, which is nakasentro sa agriculture. Ang economics kasi mag-uumpisa sa agriculture kasi yung food security yon, di ba? Yun yung yung pagkain. So maggagawa sila ng, so ititil meron silang kanya-kanyang parcel of land. Hinati nila yung land ng Canaan, di ba, into 12 tribes. So bawat tribe meron siyang yung head ng tribe is yun yung magiging feudal lord, na sa isang tribe meron din siyang mga clan, di ba? Tapos yung clan may family. So sila yung ihahati-hatiin din nila yung land na yon, na sila yung ibig sabihin magpa-plant nung agriculture doon sa kanila, para yun yung aalagaan nila, para yun yung magtatanim sila. So agriculture based yung feudalism eh. Tapos sila yung magbibigay nung yung feudal no feudal lord, yun yung tribal lord din eh. Yun yung head ng tribe, parang ganon. So kaya kailangan nilang, kung may sasabihin yung tribe, yung ano ba to, yung leader ng tribe, 'di ba? Sabi nila doon, nakalagay kasi doon yung military. Ipo-protect niya ngayon yung tribe. Pero kung sasabihin nung tribe lord na kailangan ko ng tao para sa war natin, para makipag-war tayo. So, yun yung kaya sinasabing may protection, pero actually yun. Na pwede kasi maging corrupt din yung tribal lord. So, ganun yung nangyari sa So, yung feudalism ganun din kasi naka-base siya dun sa agriculture, which is yun yung development from agriculture to industrialization, para ganyan. Tapos naging capitalism yung natin. Ang problema kasi sa naging capitalism sa economy, nakasentro ka na lang sa profit mo. So, ang inisip mo na lang yung profit, kinalimutan mo na yung humanistic point of view kung bakit ka nagbi-business, di ba? Ganun siya. So, chapter 4 na po, and that ends section 3 about development in politics and ideology.
Thank you, Adelina. Let's give a big round of applause for this. Thank you, Tay. So, well explained about ano yun, maturity of the economics, politics, ideology. So, but it was not enough just because we are preparing the preparation for the second advent of the Messiah takes 400 years. So, we still have more stories. Marami pa tayong storya na malalaman. And that is the next section 4. But let us always think of the providential significance of this world wars. Why it was happened. The First World War, Second World War, the Third World War. So as always, it was dependent on the portion of responsibility of people. And let's see what are the significance of this. Lectured by our dear Ate, Nena Balanay. Please welcome.
Once again, good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Naririnig ba ako?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. This afternoon, we tackled about the chapter 5, the period of preparation for the second advent of the Messiah. This time, we will discuss about the section 4, the world wars. So based on our God unchanging ideal creation and tragedy of human fall, humanity's separation for his will. So let's study the process of providence of restoration. Wars break out due to such factors as conflicts of political and economic interest and clashes of ideology. Yet, these are merely external causes, and there are also internal causes of wars. Accordingly, we cannot grasp the providential significance of the world wars by focusing only on external cause. Di ba? Yung internal cause natin is the God's providence of restoration, while the external causes is conflicts in politics, economics, ideology, which we discussed earlier in our lectures. What are the internal providential causes of the world wars? The world wars have occurred first as a result of Satan's last desperate struggle to preserve his sovereignty. It means that this reason why the Bible maintained prior to the coming of Christ or Antichrist will come and Satan's struggle to control or attend dominion to see God's working to advance his providence. Second, in order to fulfill the worldwide indemnity conditions to restore the three great blessings defectively realized by Satan in advance. It means humanity should realize the kingdom of heaven by fulfilling the three great blessings. Therefore, the condition of indemnity or indemnify the false tradition and the lack of the three great blessings is the foundation of that fulfillment. The third one is in order that all humanity may overcome on the world level the three temptations by which Satan tempted Jesus. It means, I remember the three temptations were also conditions for Jesus and restores the three great blessing. So ano yung mga temptations galing na ano ni Jesus is yung 'di ba yung last time yung stone nagiging ano siya stone nagiging bread, then threw himself down and offered all kingdom. Yun yung siya yung ano yung tatlong temptation. Fourth one, in order to fulfill the worldwide indemnity condition to restore God's sovereignty. It means God can advance the providence, increase sovereign authority and control in the world so that world war can take place to fulfill the worldwide indemnity condition to restore God's sovereignty. Yun yung fourth one. The First World War from 1914 to 1918. These are the some summary of the providence in the First World War. I prepare some movie clip or to really understand and to really understand the starting point of the First World War. Okay.
What caused the devastating First World War? You may be aware of the assassination of Archduke Franz
Kikita ba?
Ferdinand. This was, in fact,
Click mo yung video.
Okay.
Tapos, connect audio. Pinakababa.
Lang. Ba dito yun siya?
Share ka. Click mo.
Wait lang.
what caused the devastating First World War? You may be aware of the assassination.
I-end mo muna yung session mo, Manina, tapos i-ano
Okay
mo.
pa.
Select mo yung video, tapos share.
What caused the devastating First World War? You may be aware of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. This was, in fact, the trigger which set off the war from a number of underlying causes. These were militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. Militarism created an arms race out of competition and fear of neighbouring nations. Germany tried to compete in a naval race with Britain, building more and more ships. Alliances were created to check the balance of power between nations. In 1882, Germany, Austria-Hungary and Italy formed the Triple Alliance. France, Britain and Russia reacted in 1907 by creating the Triple Entente. Imperialism caused another type of competition and disagreement. The British and French empires made Germany jealous as it tried to colonize parts of Africa. Nationalism created the feeling that countries were better than others and promoted the anti-Austro-Hungarian sentiments in Serbia. 7 young Bosnian Serbs, who were part of the nationalist Black Hand, planned to assassinate Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary. The first attempt failed when a bomb was thrown at his car. He missed, and the conspirator was arrested. As the car carrying the Archduke went down an alternate route, Gavrilo Princip happened to be there. He shot and killed both Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie. This caused a crisis where Austria declared war on Serbia, and in response, Russia declared war on Austria. Other nations, obliged by their alliances, joined in, bringing the outbreak of the First World War.
Thank you so much. So, doon yung nagsimula yung First World War sa may, di ba yung first attempt is to, yung sinabog nila yung ano, yung nagbagay sila ng bomba. But yung second attempt is, yung the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand last June 28, 1914. Yun yung din nila sa the Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Di ba? Yun yung nag-start yung World War I. So it means this in the summary of the providence in the First World War, ang nag-success is from the able type. The Britain, US, France. In the political sphere, the First World War was a conflict.
PowerPoint. End mo muna yung ano.
Okay po ba? Naririnig ako?
Yes po.
Okay. Continues. In the political sphere, the First World War was a conflict between able-type democracies and Cain-type authoritarian states. In the economic sphere, it was fought between the imperialist nation on God's side and the imperialist nations on Satan's side. In the sphere of religion and ideology, the able-type nations of Great Britain, the United States, and France, which generally upheld Christianity, fought the Cain-type nations of Turkey, persecuting Christianity and its allies, Germany and Austria-Hungary. Yan yung siya yung the summary of the providence in the First World War. Second, the providential results of the First World War. Ito yung the victory of God's side in the First World War. Yun yung Britain nga nag-success. Ito yung Britain, US and France nga naging success. Okay. This is the second time of the movie clip for the summarize of the First World War.
Maganda yung video.
Wala pong video.
Gawin mo yung ginawa ka. Kailangan talaga i-click yung ano yung video.
Share. This one. Ay, wait lang. Wala. Okay na po? Nakita niyo? Ha? Okay na?
Wala po.
Audio lang na pero yung video hindi. I-close mo, i-minimize mo muna tong nasa screen. Tapos i-reselect mo yung video mismo.
Okay.
Nagpa-play na video.
Zoom. Diba? Ito yan siya. Okay. Wait, ouch. Computer. Ba't hindi ko siya nakita? Hindi lang, wala siya pong audio. Ouch.
Dapat niya din naka-play siya. Tapos i-pause mo lang.
Okay, gets ko.
Tapos punta ka sa share. Then Share mo yung video.
Okay.
Play mo muna tapos pause.
Yun yung second is nag-success sila through the second movie clip is nag-success sila through the message, di ba? Yung France and yung France at saka yung Britain. Okay. The providential result of the First World War, the victory of God's side. The victory of God's side in the First World War is to fulfill the formation stage, indemnity condition, to restore God's three great blessings worldwide. Second, fulfill the indemnity condition to restore God's first blessing worldwide by overcoming Jesus' first temptation on the worldwide level. Last is established through the victory of democracy, the formation stage, foundation for the restoration of God's sovereignty. The providential results of the First World War is this lead the foundation for the birth of the returning Christ and the formation stage of the dispensation of the Second Advent commenced. The Second World War from 1939 to 1945, in the Second World War democracy, US, Britain, France, while standing upon the formation stage victory, attained in the First World War defeated fascism, Germany, Japan, Italy, and secured victory at the growth stage. Yun yung naging kasi naging success sila, 'di ba? Sa God's side. Yun yung nabilong doon yung US, Britain, and France. Then sa kay Satan's side is the fascism, the Germany, Japan, and Italy. The Second World War is the victory of God's side in the Second World War. First, fulfilled the growth stage indemnity condition to restore God's three great blessings worldwide. The age for building a new heaven and new earth under the leadership of Christ at the Second Advent had begun, and the growth stage of the dispensation of the Second Advent commenced. The Third World War is the third at the consummation of human history. Satan's side and God's side will strive until they each attain sovereignty over a world. This is why the democratic world and the communist world stand confronting each other. 'Di ba? Yun yung yun sa sa Third World War. The First and Second World War has the providential purpose of dividing the globe into the communist world and democratic world. Afterward, yet another war must take place to bring about their unification. This conflict is the Third World War. One way to bring Satan's side to surrender is through armed conflict. The other way, This war may be fought is as a wholly internal ideological conflict. By which of these two ways will the Third World War actually be fought? It depends upon success or failure in carrying out the human portion of responsibility. Um, The providential results of the Third World War is by winning victory in the three world wars which belong to the final chapter of providential history. First is to restore entire providence prolonged to the third stage. God intends to restore through indemnity the entire providence which was prolonged to the third stage. Yun yung 'di ba sa third nga ano wala pa man yung third world war, yung first and second world war naging success yung naging success yung God's side, di ba? Then the providence of restoration can be completed only after fallen people restore their heart toward God through God's life-giving word, are saved both spiritually and physically, and inherit God's lineage. The providential results of the Third World War is God began the dispensation of dividing good and evil to restore the failure in Adam's family on the individual level and develop it through the levels of family, clan, society, people, and nation. Ito yung ano siya ito yung na-fulfill ng ito yung naging ito yung naging victory sa first ito yung naging victory in the three world wars which belong to the final chapter of providential history. Last one, the providential results of the Third World War is the victories of God's side will fully restore through indemnity all the aspects of the providence of restoration. They will make possible the realization of God's ideal world for which God has labored with unremitting tears over the centuries of human history since the fall. So this one ay last movie clip. Paano natin malalaman yung Kingdom of Heaven? Ouch. Ulit. Last mo. Ito siya. Wait lang. Wait lang po.
Ilang minutes yan?
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
3 minutes. Sulit na. Okay na? 4 minutes. 3 to 4 minutes. Wait na.
They will ask for terms. They must ask for terms. Convert to Islam. Repent later.
You've taught me a lot about religion, Your Eminence.
Ako pa apat ka man.
Will you yield the city?
Before I lose it, I will burn it to the ground. Your holy places, ours, every last thing in Jerusalem that drives men mad.
I wonder if it would not be better if you did. You will destroy it?
Every stone, and every Christian knight you kill will take 10 Saracens with him. You will destroy your army here and never raise another. I swear to God that to take this city will be the end of you.
Your city is full of women and children. If my army will die, so will your city.
You offer terms, I ask none.
I will give every soul safe conduct to Christian lands. Every soul. The women, the children, the old, and all your knights and soldiers, and your queen. Your king, such as he is, I leave to you, and what God will make of him. No one will be harmed. I swear to God.
The Christians butchered every Muslim within the walls when they took this city.
I am not those men. I am Salah ad-Din. Salah ad-Din.
Then under these terms, I surrender Jerusalem.
Assalamu alaikum.
And peace be with you. What is Jerusalem worth?
Nothing. Everything.
I have surrendered Jerusalem. All will be safely escorted to the sea. If this is the kingdom of heaven, let God do with it as he wills. Your brother's kingdom was here and here. That kingdom can never be surrendered.
So, yun yung the last movie clip. Ouch. Ibig sabihin nun, yung World War, because of the World War, the Kingdom of Heaven, hindi talaga siya first naging sa movie na to hindi talaga nag-success, 'di ba? Kasi marami talagang nag-sacrifice through through the two religions. Yun yung Christian and Islam. Because of this, the victories of God's side will fully restore through indemnity all the aspects of the providence of restoration. They will make possible the realization of God's ideal world for which God has labored with unremitting tears over the centuries of human misery since the fall. Yun siya. Thank you so much for listening.